Big final questions. You played every Mario RPG up to this point.
Yeah.
So the big question is, your official ranking of all of them, from worst to best.
Well,
Just
it's
where
my
do you rank
official.
them?
Although it's my opinion justified because I haven't beaten sorry, Sticker Star yet.
I haven't beaten Sticker Star either, so
Okay.
consider us on the same level.
All right. Wait, just 1 second. Wait. Okay. Number 10.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sticker Star.
Wow, I'm really surprised.
Oh wow, I went out of my frame. Number, I was about to say 8. Number 9. Mario and Luigi, Paper Jam Bros.
Oh, I thought it was Superstar Saga.
Ah, you'd be close. See, look, see. Bros. It's in the title. The word bros, right there. It's in the.
True.
It's official.
True.
Number 8. This is where things start getting controversial.
Okay.
Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Oh, snap. Throwing it in the back end.
My problem with it, like, it's a good game, but isometrics. Not really keen on that.
Hey, it's a Super Nintendo game. I give it some credit.
Yeah.
I get it. Fine.
Number 7. Mario and Luigi, Partners in Time. I like it. It's just less. It's just not as good as the rest of them. Just because.
You like Dream Team more than Partners in Time. That's a good thing that happened right there. It's a crazy thing.
When did I ever favor Partners in Time over Dream Team? I've never favored Partners in Time over Dream Team. Until Paper Jam came out, Partners in Time has always been my least favorite in the Mario and Luigi series.
See, I had my problems with Partners in Time, but I didn't know you didn't like I knew it was like your least favorite of the original 3 and stuff, but that's like I didn't know where Dream Team fit in there. But like I have my problems with Partners in Time. I know you don't hate it as much as I do.
Yeah. But. Number 7. This is where things start getting really controversial. Paper Mario, The Thousand-Year Door.
Oh, snap, he likes the N64 one more.
My huge problem with Thousand-Year Door, the thing is, the best thing about Thousand-Year Door is the story.
Fair.
But I don't care for story.
I get that.
So, and as much as I appreciate the story, it's not really a defining feature that makes me want to kind of give it like the praise. And when you play it, Mario moves so slowly. I feel like he should move much faster than that. Well, much faster than he does. There's so much backtracking. The story is the only part of it. Is the only part of the game that, for me, that like really brings a lot of light. Especially Chapter 6. I love Chapter 6's story. And how you play it out. But that's its biggest redeeming quality, is the story.
Right.
And by the time you get, I can't stand Chapter 8 in that game because it's just walk through the place. There is no story in Chapter 8. And that's why so I can't stand Chapter 8. Number 6. Wait, is that 6? No, Thousand-Year Door 6. Number 5.
Dun, dun, dun.
Mario and Luigi, Dream Team Bros.
There it is.
At least you move quick. The story isn't quite what I mean, the best story is Thousand-Year Door out of all the Mario RPGs. I mean, let's be real.
I disagree.
But, well, that being I don't know, maybe. At least it's one of the uppers there on the story. But the thing about Dream Team Bros is that it flows. As in, I just feel like I can play it. It's like,
Okay.
you know, I can pick it up and just start playing it. Some weird things happen in Dream.
About that game.
Some weird things happen in Dream Team Bros. But it does have a lot of personality. That's one thing. Next, number 4. This is where things start getting really good. Paper Mario N64. Even though the plot's generic, but I really feel like the gameplay is really there, and Mario moves quick, and they have the spin dash, which is awesome. And it was a step in a new direction for its time. It really was. Because, like, even though Thousand Year Door expanded the mechanics, but Paper Mario started them. And so I appreciate Paper Mario for that. Number 3, Super Paper Mario. It's my favorite Paper Mario.
The top 3 are going to be very similar. Anyway, continue.
Super Paper Mario is number 3 because you move really, really quick. It doesn't feel like a drag. And like, it's the only game in the entire list that doesn't have turn-based battles. And I appreciate not having turn-based battles because, like, even though they start out alright... Wait just a second. Whoops. Wait.
He's doing a thing.
Changing the music. Okay. So, what Super Paper Mario does is that it helps, to me, I really feel a strong sense of progress in that game because it doesn't drag. There's little to no backtracking, and when there is, it's done tastefully. Because the thing is, the backtracking in this game, it feels necessary. What I mean by that is, like, mainly when you get to, like, chapters 6 and 7. in chapter 6, the world blows up in 6.2. So 6-3 and 6-4 aren't really part of the main adventure. And then you die and go to hell.
What do you consider 6-4?
6-4, the last 25 fighting the dudes, the last 25 of them. You know what I mean? That's why I consider.
Because you don't actually do that in 6-4.
Well, I don't know. I've never gotten to the end.
Yeah, but that's not part of the main story.
It isn't part of the main story. That's the point that I'm trying to make. 6-3 and 6-4. 6-3 and 6-4 aren't part of the main story, but then you just jump straight to chapter 7. You're like, what the heck? What am I doing in chapter 7? Then you come out. You go back to 6-2, or I think 6-3. I'm not sure even then. I think it's technically 6-2. When you just go through, and you go through the broken land, and you try and recover the pure heart, and then chapter 7 kicks in, and you go back to where you were, which admittedly is a bit of a drag, but there is a sense of relevance to going there.
You kind of flipped how it works actually. When chapter 6 gets swallowed, you just get spat out right back in the hub world, and then you go back in and fight Mr. L, and then you have to go to hell to restore the pure heart.
Oh, was that it? Okay, I don't remember the order.
So I was arguing that 6-3, quote unquote, is you fighting Mr. L, and then 6-4, quote unquote, was going to restore the pure heart, even though they aren't labeled that.
Oh,
but it doesn't.
Never
matter.
looked at
Anyway,
it like that. Number 2, Mario and Luigi, Bowser's Inside Story. I love that game so much. It does so many things right. What I appreciate, what Bowser's Inside Story does well, which Dream Team tried to mimic, was an alternative inner world, sort of. So in Bowser's Inside Story, it's going inside of Bowser. It's Mario and Luigi's Adventure is inside of Bowser, and in Dream Team Bros, it's going inside the dreams. But the thing about Bowser's Inside Story is that the two worlds are interconnected. Almost, it's like it does the light world, dark world job better than Dream Team Bros. And in the dreams, you actually go into a world that's directly related to the outer world in Dream Team Bros. But in Bowser's Inside Story, they're not. There's nothing specifically themed about them that's connected, but they do interrelate better. Like, you know, you make Bowser start drinking water to flood the part of inside. What was the area called? I forget what it was called. But you go in there and flood. You get Bowser to freeze inside of the airway. You get Bowser to turn on the lights inside of the energy hold. That's one thing I really loved about it. And then there's the giant battles. Don't get me started about the giant battles. They are amazing. And however, there is one itsy bitsy bit of a problem that I've always had with it. I found it's like, to me, and this was a huge problem I had with Paper Jam, was like, right, and like you've had this problem with Paper Jam. You know, the game starts off, or you're trying to. In Paper Jam, it starts off, what you're trying to do is just trying to go to Bowser's Castle. You get through the green area, or willy-nilly, whatever, but your goal is still the same, get to Bowser's Castle. In Bowser's Inside Story, when Bowser wakes up in Cavy Cape, you do Cavy Cape, your goal, get to Bowser's Castle. You do Black Beach, your goal, get to Bowser's Castle. You do Dimblewood, your goal, get to Bowser's Castle. To me, like, just that beginning area alone just kind of feels like a bit of a drag, because nothing's happened so far. Because at least in something like in Superstar Saga, well, spoilers, number 1, Superstar Saga.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, it starts out, you go to Stardust Fields. Your goal, find out where the hell you are and just get things going. That's your only goal. And it's not a bad goal. It's like, find out where you are. I want to know where I am. Where am I? Like, I mean, I remember when I was a kid and I looked on the map and it says like, oh, there we are. I'm like, oh, but I don't really feel like I'm in the Bean Kingdom yet. This sort of looks really weird. I don't get it. But, and like, it kind of really hyped me up for the Bean Kingdom. Once you're in the mountains, once you go to Hoo Mountain, you're like, oh yes, I'm finally in the Bean Kingdom officially. And then you go, and then you suddenly find out, oh, but there's no way to get to the castle. We have to fix the bridge. So now you go up the mountain with the intention of with the desire to get to the castle. But then after you go up the mountain, it's just straight to the castle, and there's no boss battles or significant areas between you and the castle. The castle itself is an area.
Right.
Like, that's it. And then your next goal is go to Chucklehuck Woods. Here, fix Queen Bean. So, and you go straight there. Then you go straight to the University because you have a mission at the University. And then you need to get back to the airport. And then you need to, like, each individual location you go to feels necessary. It feels relevant. It's not just an area that's put in there for the sake of being an area. And that's my problem with the opening of Bowser's Inside Story. Just those early bits, and then afterwards everything starts getting more relevant. But mostly how it's mostly done. It's mostly in how they portrayed, well, how they kind of gave you Dimblewood at the beginning of the at the beginning. Like, it's mostly in Dimblewood, because by the time you're done through Black Beach, it's like, oh yes, we've gone through the beach. Can I get to Bowser's Castle now? No. Get Dimblewood.
I think spoilers, Superstar Saga is also my number 1. I think
what?
the thing that makes Superstar Saga stand out. Actually, I'll do the count up in a bit, but I think it was fairly obvious because I've already emphasized that this is my favorite game, Mario RPG. I think one thing that Superstar Saga does very well is its map. I'm gonna move
Yes.
my mic a little bit because right now my
Yes.
mic is in my face.
Superstar Saga is like not in the Mushroom Kingdom. That's what I love about it.
I mean, I like that too. What I was referring to is that there's this area, and it's the area just surrounding the castle, and they just call it, I don't remember the specific term for the area, but it's just like the B&B Kingdom. It's just an open field area, and it's interesting to walk through, but it's also a very small area. It's a donut-shaped area, and there are things in this area, but the key thing is that you're just kind of walk through a few rooms to get to whatever area you need to get to. So in a game like Bowser's Inside Story or Dream Team or especially Paper Jam, you're walking through a lot of past areas in order to get to where you need to get to.
Yeah.
And they solved this by adding a bunch of warps and things like that, which one thing that really annoyed me about Dream Team is they're like, oh, by the way, halfway through the game, we have warps. It's like, well, I just walked back through like 10 areas already. It would be nice if you had told me that earlier.
And Superstar Saga introduces them straight away. You like as soon as you're in the Stardust Fields, you immediately know you just immediately know that they're there, that they exist, and you can use them straight away just as long as you've been to the area at least once.
Yep. So I just think that system works a lot better, where it's like you have a main area, the castle, where you generally get objectives, not all the time, and then you go to a destination and do the thing in that destination. But yet somehow, okay, I'm gonna go do my list now, and then I'll explain this more because I think it'll make sense as I go through.
All right.
So my bottom one is Sticker Star, like yours.
What?
Above that is Paper Jam, like yours.
What?
And then number 8 is Dream Team. The reason why number 8 is Dream Team for me is I really don't like that game because of the deliberate padding that occurs throughout the game. One of my biggest issues with that game is, like I said, the fact that they don't introduce a warp system until over halfway through the game. And they do that because it just makes you walk back through a bunch of previous areas. A lot of the things that happen in the game feel like deliberate padding. So instead of it being like, we're doing this to get to our goal, it's like, oh, I'm stopping you right now because there's this thing I want you to do, and it doesn't make it feel as interesting. And the worst one for that one is Dozing Sands, where you have to go in this machine and dig up a bunch of stuff. And yeah, you do free the pillow dudes at the same time, but for the most part, it feels like a lot of deliberate padding, and it didn't feel interesting. And even rescuing the pillows themselves felt like deliberate padding to me. Where in the prior games, there was no padding like that, and so Dream Team was double the length of Bowser's Inside Story, an already pretty long game, and it did it just by, it didn't even add any extra content. It just basically stretched out the content that was already there. If you explain the areas you went to in Bowser's Inside Story versus Dream Team, and those are the closest comparable things, right? You do the same things in the same amount of time. You visit all the areas once to do something, and then you go to another area to take care of some central plot thing, and then it sends you back to those areas to get some key collectible, then it sends you to a new area, and then it sends you to the last area. It does the same exact pattern as Bowser's Inside Story, except it takes twice as long to do it. And that annoys me a lot. And so a lot of times in Dream Team I was just bored. And it also didn't help the battles took a year to do, which is very similar to a game we'll be coming up to. Number 6, Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64. This game is great. I like this game. I like all the games after this, actually. But the thing is unlike Mario RPG, this game to me feels more dated. And I think, and that might just be a personal opinion, when I tried to play this game a year and a half ago, I couldn't play it. I just didn't enjoy myself playing it. I couldn't handle the fact that you didn't get action commands until like halfway through the first chapter.
Well, it's before the first chapter. It's before it's basically at the end of the prologue. You get the action commands.
You had to beat a boss without action commands before you could do that. That pissed me off.
Yeah, I think it's scripted that you win it. I genuinely think that's scripted. Although sometimes not having action commands can make you think carefully and strategize. That's one up I will give to lack of action commands. That being said, I mean, like, I love action commands, and I hate when they're not there. But that being said, I don't think I've never thought of them as something that's. I never thought of action commands as something super essential to an RPG in general, just because, like, I mean, I still like and enjoy playing Pokemon, but to me, I feel like action commands are the one things that set the Mario RPGs apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's also something that because I played the Mario RPGs first, I deem almost necessary in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
There's been no RPG that I've played where I would prefer it not to have action commands. That includes Mother 3. It's a part of the reason why I haven't finished it. Includes Earthbound. It includes Final Fantasy games. It includes Pokemon. But either way, I also felt. I'm not gonna say the areas in Paper Mario are very original, and they definitely had a lot of personality. But for me, I don't think there was enough going on in a lot of cases. The only area that I could say is an exception to that is Shy Guy's Toy Box, which is one of my favorite areas in any Mario RPG. So in some sense, I felt I don't know. I might have been pampered with later Mario RPGs, which did it a lot better. And I definitely don't have the nostalgia for the game that other people might have.
I don't really myself.
When you play a later entry first and then go back to a first entry, sometimes you have that issue, right? So if, a lot of my friends, for example, I'll use Pokemon as the example, right? They played Gen 3 Pokemon. That was what they grew up on. So they can't go back to Gen 2 and enjoy it because they prefer Gen 3. I'm not even talking about Gen 1 because, I mean, a lot of people don't like Gen 1. But they just can't go back to Gen 2 because they just like Gen 3 and that's what they grew up on. So I think that's my problem there. I don't think it's a game issue so much as it is a personal issue. But there are some things about it that irk me a little bit. So anyway, number 6 is Partners in Time. A game which I think from a writing standpoint is perhaps one of the better written Mario RPGs. It's definitely the funniest Mario RPG, but it's also the most formulaic Mario RPG with the exception of Paper Jam and Sticker Star. And I say that in terms of its game structure more so than its plot itself. It definitely feels a bit too episodic for my liking, and it's something that bugs me about both of the Paper Mario RPGs as well. Where it's like, instead of it being a cohesive full story, it's something where it's like you go into an area, you do something, and then that stuff that happened there doesn't matter anymore. You did that, and then you just keep moving on.
Although there is one advantage though, and you made this, and you complained about this a lot in Dream Team. There is, in Partners in Time, there is no backtracking. You never have to revisit an area after you beat it.
That's true, but backtracking isn't my problem. Deliberate padding is my problem. So,
True.
For example, in Superstar Saga, there are times when you had to
backtracking was my problem. Thousand Year Door.
It was fine. It was perfectly fine, and I enjoyed it. Same with Bowser's Inside Story, in fact. There was backtracking in that game, and it actually helped connect the world a bit more as well. In Partners in Time, the world is very disjointed, so it felt like you did something in one world, and then you never had to come back, and that was it. And it also felt pretty generic. It's a pretty generic collectathon, and so it didn't feel like very impactful. And unlike the game that comes after this, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, the things that you did in that area did not feel overly substantial. The reason why I like Thousand Year Door a bit more is that even though I have my qualms with it as well, specifically with the 4th and 7th chapters.
But so 4? Oh yeah, 4 is so much backtracking, and 7th is a bit dull. Although 7 though you go to the moon. Like, how cool is going to the moon?
Yeah, going to the moon is great. Like, the base itself is fine. I'm talking about before you get to the moon. The General Light quest is the worst quest in any RPG I've ever played. It's ridiculous. You just go back to other areas and talk to people. It's terrible.
I know. I hate that.
Objective in any RPG I've ever played, and I haven't played a lot of RPGs, so I mean, I can't. That's not a huge statement, but it's a major issue. The other one that really bugged me. Oh, the stream just kind of went white for a second. Are you offline?
Yeah. No. Oh wait, what's happened? Wait just a second. Okay, no, it's fine. It should be fine. Discord still. If Discord says I'm streaming, then I'm streaming. But like I did put like a bit of a. I've dressed up the picture a little bit. There we go. Now it's much better.
Okay, I don't know how much was cut out or not cut out, because it set offline for me for a little bit.
Oh,
Now
well,
I'll take. So it's fine.
All right, excellent.
And what I was saying was, Mario sorry, not Mario RPG. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. What I like about it is that when it's episodic, sure, but those episodes feel very self-contained in a good way. Where in Partners in Time, it just felt like a piece of a bigger puzzle that didn't feel overly relevant. So
well,
like
the thing is that's
and all that just felt largely irrelevant, but it wasn't deep enough.
The thing is,
yeah.
Once you get into the later parts of Superstar Saga, like after you visited the castle for the first time, then the areas start to feel a little bit, just a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit episodic, because you go to Chuck, because like, well, you're in castle, you go to Chuck Hole Woods, you go back to the castle, you go to the university followed by the island and airport, but then you go back to the castle, and then you go up to the desert and the town, then you go back to the castle, then you go seek out the Beanstar pieces, then you go back to the castle, and then you go to Joke's End, and then you go back to the castle, and then you go to Bowser's castle.
In a lot of cases, the areas in the Superstar Saga and how it was set up felt a lot. It felt more unpredictable. So
that is the truth.
So in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, you went to an area, and you were largely contained within that area. The same thing applies to Partners in Time, and there wasn't much more to it. You knew the space that you were contained in for the most part the entire time. Less so with Thousand Year Door, but especially in Partners in Time. In Superstar Saga, you went to the University expecting to beat Cackletta and then go back to the castle, and that doesn't happen. You expect to go to Teehee Valley and then just say hi to the people in the Mushroom Land and not do anything else, but that doesn't happen either. So I think that these deliberate twists and turns make the plot a lot more interesting. And I think it's also those twists and turns that make Bowser's Inside Story a bit more interesting. I get there. So
which number are you up to now?
I'm sorry?
Which number are you up to? Which one's Thousand Year Door? I forget.
Thousand Year Door is 5.
Okay.
Number 4 is Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo.
Oh dear.
This game, my mic is like beeping weirdly. Strange.
This game. Huh? I'm not hearing anything.
My mic is beeping weirdly. Okay.
I'm not hearing
anything.
anything.
It's fine. It could be a fan thing. I don't know. Like the fan might be blowing against the wheel. I don't know. Either way, it's not making that noise anymore. Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo, I like it for a lot of reasons. There are certain mechanics that definitely feel archaic by today's standards, especially with the Mario RPG games. But even going back that far, it doesn't fall into many of the problems that later Mario RPGs fell into. It might be a collectathon, but it yet happens to feel less episodic than any Paper Mario game that followed it. Paper Mario game that followed it. The characters in that game are far more interesting than some of the characters in the lower entries on this list, despite not always being named or anything like that. Some particular areas are some of the most memorable areas I've ever seen in any game ever. I'm talking specifically about Booster's Tower. I particularly liked.
Booster's Tower was good.
Yeah, so I love those areas. This game is incredibly memorable. I felt like everything that happened in the game was substantial and contributed to the larger plot. One thing I like about Partners in Time, actually, is the constant looming of the enemy. It's something that you don't really see in the Paper Mario games as much, with the exception of an entry that we haven't gotten to yet. But I love how in Mario RPG, all these guys are working for Smithy, and they always mention his name, and they always say, "This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. We're taking over."
Yeah, I've always
felt like this looming presence.
I've always found that aspect interesting, because although to be honest, I'm not sure which one I actually like more. When all the bosses, well, kind of when all the bosses or the main bosses are all like working in cahoots with your main enemy, or if they're just there because or if they're just there to interfere. But that only happens though in Mario RPG, Partners in Time, and Paper Jam. It happens in Paper Jam. I guess it happens in Paper Mario 64. Doesn't. I'm not sure if it really. I'm not sure if I'll really call it happening in Thousand Year Door.
No. The thing is it's not necessarily that you're always fighting guys that are with the enemy, right? But it's about this looming presence. It's about that this character or this icon constantly appears. I mean, not every boss in Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie was related to Gruntilda, but it was the fact that her text appeared at the bottom of the screen taunting you.
That was in the first Banjo. That was just in Banjo-Kazooie. It wasn't really there in Banjo-Tooie. Although she did pop up from time to time in Banjo-Tooie, but it's only scripted though. It wasn't like just random. But it was called the Island of Hags, which kind of and like the Digger tracks were really they were really good. Anyway, back to Mario and Luigi.
So, Mario RPG I really like for that reason. I feel like it's an incredibly memorable game, and I feel like everything in it felt substantial and worth including. It also didn't pad out time like many other games did, so I really enjoyed that. The next game is number 3, Super Paper Mario, and I think this is the best story in any Mario game. And I say that with the knowledge that just because a story is good doesn't necessarily mean a game is good, right? And I think Super Paper Mario's biggest problem is that disjointedness. It's that you have to read 20 minutes of text before you get to play the game. But the 20 minutes of text are incredibly engaging, incredibly interesting, and some of the most complex character development I've ever seen in a video game. So,
I remember being bored of that on my first playthrough. Just being like, I mean, when it comes to a story in a video game, like, or especially when I was younger, much younger though, way before Super Paper Mario came out, like, I would never want to read text. And when I was a kid, I actually ran around on Sparrow Mountain wondering, what am I supposed to do? Why is the bridge out? Why can't I go into the giant building? And I realized, oh, that's because I didn't go up to the molehills and actually press the right button, which was B, not A. But the only reason I didn't know it was because I didn't read the dialogue, so it was my fault for not reading the dialogue.
Right.
Yeah. But go on.
So I think that's Super Paper Mario's biggest problem. But that said, when it comes down to it, its gameplay mechanics are fantastic, and its story is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just that those two things don't relate together very well. And
that
it
is
has
a
its
truth.
problems too, right? Like there are certain mechanics that I felt were underutilized, and there are certain mechanics that I felt padded on for no real reason. I didn't like the 3D flip mechanic in Super Paper Mario. I didn't find it engaging or interesting. I also found it gimmicky that it was just tied to Mario and no other character, because then basically what happened is you defaulted to using Mario and then had to switch to another character when there was some obstacle you had to cross, which makes it feel more like a partner more than a main character. So there are things like that that bug me, but all in all, mechanically speaking, I feel like Super Paper Mario is the best of the Paper Mario games, even though it's completely different from the prior ones. I'm also a fan of the ideology that if you're good at the game, then you shouldn't be able to take any damage. It's why I like Souls games. It's why I like platformers, and it's why I like this game as opposed to the other Paper Marios where you have to take damage.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. I've always hated it. And like even when you do it successfully, well, in the original Paper Mario, every time you take damage successfully, it's only 1 point of damage less. Right. 1. What is that?
That's substantial. Yeah.
And
although doesn't really mean anything.
And I like what they did in Thousand Year Door when they introduced the Super Guard, where there's a way you can actually nullify all damage and give a little bit back to your enemy. It's hard at the time, but I appreciate its existence, even though I almost never use it. It's only like useful if you know you're gonna die.
Right.
Be gone.
So that's why I like Super Paper Mario. It has its problems, But I feel like I can live with those problems for its quirkiness alone. And like I said, best story in any Mario game. One of the best stories in video games. It just doesn't happen to be communicated well as a video game.
Mm.
And like I said, sometimes, you know, even if the story and game might feel disjointed, ideally, right, your perfect game is one that uses the gameplay to tell its story, and one that marries those two perfectly together.
Yeah.
If you want to tell a story and you want to tell it through video, and there's got to be a damn good reason you're telling it as a video game and not as a movie or a book or as anything else.
And if you don't have a good story, just make up a generic plot and exercise your mechanic well.
Exactly.
And don't make an RPG. If you don't have a good story, do not make an RPG. Make a platformer. Make something else. Yeah. Although, unless, like, I guess, actually, I think you can justify wanting to make an RPG with a bad story, just because you thought of this really good battle mechanic. You're like, oh wow, I totally want to execute this, so I'm going to put it into this game that I'm making. Even though the story's not going to be too good, but like there's this mod mechanic and I want it to be used. It's going to be great. I can see justice there.
Yeah. So then number 2 is Bowser's Inside Story, and number 1 is Superstar Saga. So
what?
What I already said number 1, so you could figure out number 2.
I guess. It was
So,
kind of a shocked reaction to all of them, you know?
What?
It was kind of a shocked reaction to all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think the thing is that when it comes down to it, I think both of these games basically both made their world feel alive, made their story feel alive, make their characters feel alive, and basically mechanically everything worked as well. I think I like Superstar Saga more for some of the reasons I mentioned, that a lot of times in Bowser's Inside Story, there is some element of there are some parts of Bowser's Inside Story that feel dull.
Right.
And I don't think that the Inside Bowser sections are as good as they could have been, but they're still better than the Dream sections in Dream Team by a long shot.
Definitely.
Because the problem is that Inside Bowser is always Inside Bowser, and there's no distinct, you know, separation of areas. And I'm not saying that Inside Bowser need to look different for every area, because that's not very realistic. And I'm not saying Mario games have to be realistic or anything, because clearly Inside Bowser it doesn't look realistic at all. But
I mean, you'd think that if Mario and Luigi went inside of Bowser, they'd probably have to shrink in size by a lot. But they never really appear to. But unrealism aside,
I think the thing is one of my least favorite parts of any Mario RPG is the fat area of Bowser after he eats all the food in Bowser's castle. It's really, really long, really, really drawn out, and really, really dull. And there was no part, and I'm not. This is being really picky, right? There is no area in Superstar Saga that is as dull as that. Joke's End is nowhere near as bad as that, even though I don't like that area.
Joke's End sucks.
Like I said, I also feel that there are some times in Bowser's Inside Story where some of the elements of later Mario RPGs that I don't like kick in. Some of those attacks take way too long. Some of them just feel really cinematic and not just, you know, simple and effective like Superstar Saga was. I just don't like... I still, to this day, prefer the idea that you get a move in the overworld. That move is something you can use in battle. I think that's brilliant, and I don't know why they didn't continue to use that. Instead of using the random items and stuff. Although, in general, the attack pieces was a pretty good idea. Once again, something removed from Paper Jam to make it dumber.
I really liked in Bowser's Inside Story when you gathered the attack pieces. With every piece, you could go into your menus and you could look at the piece and be like, oh, what are they trying to do? Is that like, and like there's so I mean, if you don't look at it, then whatever, you'll get your move and you'll enjoy it. But like, if you do look, then if you do take the time to look at it, then there's an element of suspense building up. It's like, oh, I want to get the rest of these pieces so I can see what else there is to do, and like that's really awesome.
Oh, exactly. Oh, sorry for yawning. So,
You horrible person.
Yeah.
Go
on. There are things that Bowser's Inside Story does better than Superstar Saga. There are things that Superstar Saga does better than Bowser's Inside Story. But I think I like Superstar Saga more because mechanically speaking, I think the battle mechanics are a bit better, the field mechanics are a bit better, and there are a lot of things that in Bowser's Inside Story that just aren't as fleshed out as in Superstar Saga. I like the idea that you could swap between the front and a back character, and that the front character did a solo move and the back character did a brother's move. It made sense. But then in later things, it was like, oh, just do the move. That's the move. That's it.
I think
that's all it is.
And I was about to make a point, then I realized it was a dumb point because it's not true.
I think the reason why they did that is because there are very limited uses for some of the solo moves they were thinking of. The Firebrand and the Thunderhand were pretty gimmicky, and I can acknowledge that, but they worked well enough for what they were, and more importantly, they were very useful in battle. Once again, the idea that something that you can use in the overworld can be used in battle effectively, and it's something that you don't see in any other Mario and Luigi game.
Yeah. Well, first of all, hammers have been the hammers, the like front hand. I'm calling them like, when I say front hand, I mean the solo move, and the back hand is the bros move. But like, front hand hammer attacks have always been both overworld and battle. It's been a trend in both games, as well as jumping. But one thing I did appreciate about the Fire and Thunder was that there was something different between Mario in the front and Luigi in the front, and no other move in Superstar Saga does this. The jumping, like when it comes to jumping, it's the same for both of them, regardless of who's in the front. When it comes to the hammers, it's the same regardless of who's in front. But with the hand moves, it's different. So that actually brings a bit of relevance to bring Luigi to the front. I think one of the reasons the trend didn't continue of swapping the bros is because in Partners in Time, the babies kind of became the second party, like, because in the original, in Superstar Saga, Mario could be one party, Luigi could be one party. You could separate them in certain areas, and then they could do their own thing by themselves. But in Partners in Time, that was changed so the babies became the separate party, that they go and do things on their own, and that Mario and Luigi can go and do something else.
But I'll be honest,
I have mixed feelings about.
Babies brought anything to the gameplay. I mean, when
they really
talk
didn't
about marrying gameplay and story, even Super Paper Mario did a better job at that, where it's like you got this ability. This ability is actually somewhat relevant to the story, kind of sometimes. I mean, you got this character and he has this unique ability.
One thing
Luigi, like you saw Mr. L doing like kind of high jumpy, like Luigi-like things.
Yeah.
So it was relevant to the story in some respect. In Partners in Time, it was very obvious that they're making the time travel gimmick first before considering what it did for gameplay. The babies, there was nothing that you could do with the babies that you couldn't do with Mario and Luigi on their own in Superstar Saga.
Yes, that is.
Except the pancake, but the pancake was just like a mini Mario.
Yeah.
Stupid.
I wish that when in the piggyback mode, you could hit the R button and then you get a cool move that you can only do with all four of them together. That would have been awesome. Or maybe if you could separate them in that you could just send Mario with Baby Mario piggyback just on their own, and like they have their thing, and then like Luigi and piggyback Baby Luigi doing something else on their own. That would have been cool.
I mean, the reason why they had two brothers in the first place is so that you could separate them. They each had their own unique abilities, etc., etc. But
Luigi
it
was
feels like
great.
that goal was kind of grew more and more distant as the series progressed.
Yes.
At that point, then it doesn't feel like Mario and Luigi anymore. It doesn't. The whole thing that made Superstar Saga so incredibly interesting was that there are two different brothers with two different abilities, but they're both equally capable. There are boss battles you
Yes.
fought as Luigi. There are boss battles you fought as Mario. You didn't have your other
Are
brother.
there
You
any
had to stand
bosses
up for
fight as
yourself.
Mario by himself? Is there any boss you forced to fight as Mario by himself? I can't think of any. I like with
The
Luigi.
beginning of the game.
Well, I don't really call that a
You have to
boss.
fight Fawful on his own.
Yeah, but you don't fight You don't fight as Mario by himself. That's a Mario and Luigi fight. Like there's like the only scripted battles that you fight that you fight as one bro is the Bowser at the beginning and the Piranha Plant where you're getting the bean fruit in in later on. Those are the only scripted battles where you fight as one, and I'm glad that they kept that to a minimum because I really hate having disjointed kind of experience levels, and then Mario's on level 28 and Luigi's on level 25, and like, oh well. In fact, when I was playing in my playthrough of Paper Jam, Luigi died in the middle of an attack by the enemy, of course, and then you know there's that annoying thing where they attack twice because it's a boss battle and they're almost dead. But I can kind of get why they do that. But like, so the guy had another move. They attacked Paper Mario. Paper Mario defended successfully and countered, but the counter killed the boss, and Luigi didn't get the experience because he was still dead. And I was really pissed off. And the same thing happened again later for Paper Mario, which I was slightly less pissed off about that because I was like, okay, now we just need Mario to die, and then that way they can all be balanced. And but at that point, I don't think there are any more bosses left. Well, there were like the Koopalings right at the end. I just felt that felt like such a drag out. Like they just made you refight all the they made you refight the Koopalings right at the end of the last second, and
you can tell it was padded out.
Yeah, it really was padded out. But I appreciated the last one where you fight Morton. I think it was Morton, Iggy. No, not Iggy. No, it was Iggy. Morton, Iggy, and Lemmy together. To me, that felt less gameplay and just more of entertainment. It was just a show. Where it was a really easy battle. But it's just there for, like, goofy entertainment.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, I think, when you're talking about Superstar Saga, and I think why I like it so much is because it's just that purity that you don't really see anywhere else. I mean, they made that game to be that game, and after that, they just made sequels. Then they had to keep the stuff that was there before. And, I mean, I don't like Paper Jam because it didn't have stuff that was there before. So, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that, you know, it's entirely
Keep
out
the good
fault
things
or anything like that, but because of that, just pure like there was nothing unnecessary in Superstar Saga.
Yeah, definitely.
And everything was utilized the way it needed to be utilized. Where, like in Bowser's Inside Story, for example, there are random times when Mario was on his own for like a few minutes or like a little bit, and it just kind of was like, well, why is he on his own? I mean, we didn't learn about that. Where, like, in Superstar Saga, the brothers being separate is a huge gameplay mechanic.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
And that was like a key part of the game. There are times when, you know, when and they emphasized it with Luigi a lot because I think they realized that Luigi was like the sidekick always. So they gave Luigi a moment to shine. They're like, no, they're both very capable. And I think that was a better argument for Mario and Luigi. I think it's a better, you know, year of Luigi game than Dream Team ever was.
Really? Paper Jam? Wait, which one are you talking about, sorry?
Superstar Saga is a better year of Luigi game than Dream Team was.
Possibly. Like the thing
Uh,
is,
Dream Team
when
shoehorn that shit in way too much.
the thing is with me, the like I didn't really quite notice it. Like it was like I mean when I was younger I was a bit of a weirdo. And it kind of went over my head how where like the playing like the the insignificant or like how like Luigi's been treated over the years as kind of like the second rate, the underdog, and like you know Mario always overpowers him. I was kind of like always a bit of aloof to that. And so when I was a kid and when Superstar Saga came out, I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is a cool game. It stars both Mario and Luigi. Okay, that's cool. Like that being said, it also came up. It came out like after Luigi's Mansion, which was like awesome. But so and because of something like Luigi's Mansion, it didn't really feel that groundbreaking to be playing as Luigi as it could have been. And I don't think that's anyone's fault, or I don't think it makes the game bad. It just, I think that I just didn't. It just kind of went right over my head. The whole thing about like emphasizing Luigi, and to me, like when I found out that was kind of the point of Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, then like I was kind of, then I kind of looked at the rest of the games and I was like, so let's see. Partners in Time. So Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga is about Luigi. Then, like I just felt like, shouldn't like kind of all of them be about Luigi in some way? But they're not really, because Partners in Time was about the babies. Bowser's Inside Story is about Bowser. Dream Team Bros is about Dreamy Luigi, and Paper Jam's about Paper Mario.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I don't think it's a bad thing that they were, because it did kind of mix up the gameplay a little bit. Mario, Dream Team Bros and Superstars, well, after Superstar Saga, Dream Team Bros is the only game that has you fighting as just Mario and Luigi, just by themselves, or together. But like, you know, Partners in Time you had, yeah, in the entire game. Partners in Time, you have, you have the babies, Bowser's Inside Story, you have Bowser, and Dream Team Bros. Oh, sorry, Paper Jam, you have Paper Mario. Even though I don't think Paper Mario really adds that much. In fact, he adds more insane monotony and annoyance, and hard to keep track of attacks. Which, oh my goodness, they're so dumb.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Superstar Saga so much, and I just haven't found a game like it.
I know, right? It's...
I think that's the big annoyance there.
Although, from now it seems that our most favorite Mario and Luigi games preference order is now different for the first time ever.
No,
it was always the same. Like like I mean, granted, like I've always liked Partners in Time more than you have, but you seem to now be favoring Partners in Time over Dream Team. According to your list.
The thing is, yeah, I have my qualms with Partners in Time. Its plot is really bad, in my opinion, but its writing is very good, and I don't think I give that enough credit.
Yeah. That's one thing that Paper Jam kind of doesn't have. I just realized. Well, this is sort of connected to writing, but characters.
Yeah, it doesn't have any characters.
Yeah,
like
it does.
The best character they have is the Angry Wiggler. We've already seen 3 times.
Yes, and yeah, well, 3 times. Oh yeah, I guess 3 times before. Yeah, and yeah, and so like you know, Superstar Saga had Prince Peasley. That's cool. Partners in Time had like Kylie Cooper, who kept turning up, and like, and her going to random places was relevant because she's a journalist, so she goes and seeks the stories. It's like it makes sense that she goes places, and wants to like get the best out of everything that she goes to. I like Kylie Cooper. She's such a good character.
Yeah. A lot of those characters, like I said, this is Nintendo, corporate Nintendo coming in and protecting their IP. It's so in Paper Jam we didn't see any of those characters from the past Mario and Luigi games. One thing I give Dream Team credit for is for kind of unifying that Mario and Luigi universe, kind of, because they kind
What
of
do you mean?
I mean, it is a bit of a nostalgia trip, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But I mean, like, you know, seeing Popple again in the same room as, you know, Monsieur Brook is really cool.
Oh yeah. That was cool. And although there weren't really any references to Shroobs though. If they throw in the Shroob. Oh no wait, wasn't Toadbert in Dream Team? Was he?
Toadbert wasn't Dream Team, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. They even brought in the Dream Team character.
I think Kylie Koopa was in Dream Team too, right?
Yeah, she was, come to think of it. There you go. It kind of brings it all together.
Yeah,
So
I think, I don't like Dream Team because of its padding, and I don't like Dream Team because of a lot of reasons. But
it's better than Paper Jam.
It's the last true, like, it feels like a true capstone to the series in a way that Paper Jam isn't. But we'll have to see what they do next. Maybe they'll fix it. Maybe they
Mario
won't.
and Luigi RPG 6. When the stream catches up, you'll see me like goof and do something really dumb.
The one I always have wanted to see since I was young was, wait, hang on. Hey, goof. The one I've always wanted to see is I wanted to see a game that flips between Mario and Luigi and Wario and Waluigi, and never have them like. I never want them to be working together at all. I want it to flip between the two of them. So Mario. And
That
Luigi
sounds amazing.
and then it switches to Wario and Waluigi. But I want it to do the same kind of things that Superstar Saga did. Where it's
Mario
like
and Luigi Wicked Bros for the 4DS.
Yeah, there you go. That would be for the NX, dude, because the NX is both portable and home console.
You don't know that. I'm trying to avoid all those kinds of spoilers. I'm just like, I'm not even gonna try and think about that. I'm just gonna wait till it comes out, avoid the predictions, and just not be disappointed by what I see.
Coming out there, but conceptually, most people agree what I just said.
Yeah, I know that is true.
Before they even said anything, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that'll help me a lot, but we'll see.
Yeah, introducing
Wario. Going. Hopefully, I find my headphones in like a minute.
And even like using Wario and Waluigi, where they never really work with each other, but they just work on their own things, is still protecting the IP.
Yeah.
That's so. It's a good idea. It really brings forward their characters, and like that's one thing. Luigi, like, he has little to no character in Paper Jam. He has character in all the other games. He doesn't have any in Paper Jam. It's really weird because like there's nothing in getting scared. Oh, actually no, there is the boost section. I appreciated that, like where Luigi's on his own. But wait. Sorry, no, okay. One last thing. I appreciated that segment's existence in the game, but that was another slap in the face to Superstar Saga. When Luigi was scared to death in Superstar Saga by Guffawa Ruins, the thought of going there and knowing what was in it, it completely freaked him out. He went to the Magic Koopa and he came out a completely new guy because it was apparently his brother. And then in Paper Jam, similar thing happened. Like, he was really scared and he was moving slowly. And then Starlo gives the motivating speech. And I was like, yep, this is the one that's going to make him awesome. And it doesn't. I'm like, why? Why? Why isn't he made awesome? Oh, goodness.
I don't like that segment at all.
I was so upset. And I was even more upset when I got Mario back and went into a battle and discovered that they didn't put the Superstar Saga music back in. I was like, dude, it would have been a perfect opportunity to do that. I was slightly upset, but it's not something that I would harp on a lot. Alright, I think you need to go to bed.
Anyway, I'm gonna go.
Okay,
wish I could
rant
find more
over.
places for my headphones, and if not, I'll probably find them tomorrow.
All right,
I
say
will
goodbye to
find
the
them.
stream. Bye, stream.
Bye.